Hey, scrappy people. Traci Reed here today, coming at you with TRD Sketchy Sunday number 53, I think. Today we are going to be using this sketch right here and the True North collection to scrapbook some photos from our sailing adventure in Oahu. And I have all of my stuff printed out. My new printer is fantastic. I printed a full 12 by 12 paper from the collection. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm gonna add some cool things like texture paste and maybe some stitching, maybe. I don't know, we'll find out. Let's find out together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is lay out the base for the page, and then I'm going to put some of this glacier paste over the top of it through a stencil. So the main sketch layout is 3 columns, and it's basically a longer pattern paper matted on a shorter and slightly wider pattern paper, but I just printed patterned strips for the paper that's supposed to go underneath the main column. That way I could save paper and ink. And so I'm just going to kind of piece them back together by gluing the paper strip, the pattern strip, to the middle vertically and then outside edge of the pattern strip. And I'm going to show you just, how I do it the first time, and then we'll hop forward since it's kind of a repetitive process. I did forget that it needed to be centered on the paper the first time, so we had to pull it back up real quick. All right, so you can see here how it's not quite meeting the top and bottom edges. It's kind of offset a little bit. I'm going to repeat that process again on this side. For some reason it's easier for me to angle it this way than it is to do it the other way, so I just flipped it around. Then I'll glue it all down. For some reason that tape runner was having problems. Okay, so now I need to put it sort of about a 1/2 inch away from the edge. Then I'm going to add this centerpiece. And then the other one about a 1/2 inch away from the edge as well. It doesn't have to be perfect because most of this is going to get covered up. So you can see it's a little off center. That's okay. Nobody's going to be able to tell once everything's put together. So I have 3 photos, 2 of 3 of us in the water, 1 of my oldest on the boat. Sadly, I don't have a photo really of my middle kid on the boat. So it was just the 4 of us in this layout. That's okay. I have tons and tons of other pictures. He loves to pose for pictures, so he will be well represented in our Hawaii album. Now these frames that go behind the photos were just a little bit testy, so I had a little bit of a problem. Just because they were printed on cardstock, you can see I accidentally ripped this blue one, which made it just a total pain in the butt to put back together. So we're just gonna skip the struggle bus with this one and skip ahead to where I wasn't struggling anymore. And then this last one, it needs a frame as well. Perfect. Gonna make sure everything is put down right before I start adding the glacier paste in like specific areas where I know that I'm going to be adding my embellishments. So my embellishment clusters are a bit different than the original sketch, which is always funny to me because I made the original sketch and then I deviated from it. But just the way that this page worked out specifically, it worked a little bit better to have my clusters. Sorry about my hair, it'll go away in a second. It was a little bit easier to have my clusters just be in slightly different places. That's okay. So I'm just putting this glacier paste through a stencil that's from my one of my lines for Echo Park. It's just a star stencil, I think, from My Little Boy, and it was perfect for this page with all of the nautical stars. Try not to make it too thick, but I do want it to have a good amount of texture. And then of course I took the dog for a walk and let this dry before I came at it again. I could have used my heat gun, but really the dog needed a walk, so I just let it dry naturally. It was pretty much dry when I came back to it an hour or so later. A little bit squishy still, but dry. I'm gonna add one more spot of this down here because I know there's gonna be a cluster down here as well. I love the way this looks, and then when it dries, you'll see here in a second, it's actually iridescent, kind of shimmery. So here we go. You can see it's shining in the light here, even though it's a little bit blurry. And now I can start adding my embellishments. So I'm gonna actually cluster them together where I know that they're gonna go just sort of haphazardly, and then I will build the actual clusters in a second. I just want to make sure that I have everything I need and that everything is placed where it's supposed to go. I'm using these hexagons again. These are the ones from the sticker sheet. Almost all of these stickers are from the sticker sheets and actual size. I think I reduced the size of the whale a little bit and maybe the ship in a bottle. And then those two flags that say splish splash and dive on in, those are actually from the digital kit. But yeah, everything just came basically straight off the sticker sheet. Then I have the alphabet over here, and I printed it 3 times again so that it can be nice and thick, and I'm going to do something fun with those. I'm going to, want it to be thick like thickers, but also we're going to have a little bit of fun with some texture, not texture, but like dimension when I put those down. So you'll see that in a second. Okay, so let's start building the clusters. We'll start with the easy ones first. Just want to make sure that everything is going to stick, so I'm using liquid glue because over that texture paste it does not want to stick very much, or very well I should say. Even when I'm using liquid glue I have to push it down several times for it to stay down, but that's okay. I don't normally love to use liquid glue on my layouts unless I know it's like going to be there permanently, because once the liquid glue starts to dry it's almost impossible to get everything up. But since I do know where everything is going on this layout because I'm following a sketch, I just went ahead and went for it. These little labels that are blank right now, and I don't think I wrote on them for the picture either, I'm just going to have little quips. I don't need a lot of journaling for this because it is paired with another layout about this and probably a third layout about this sailing adventure. So, if you are doing massive amounts of journaling on 3 layouts about the same thing, it gets kind of repetitive. So I allowed this one to just have a nice designer journaling card with a phrase instead of a journaling spot. And then I'll just add a couple of little here and there notes specifically about jumping in the ocean and swimming with the sea turtles, which we didn't actually, like, when you're in the water, you can't see the sea turtle unless it's right next to you, which is silly. So we didn't actually see any sea turtles, but supposedly they were there. Okay, for my title, I'm going to glue all 3 layers together, but you can see here where I have flipped up the bottom of each of these tags. I'm going to let them dry before I mess with them anymore. But you can see by flipping up the bottom, they have that nice little lift to them, but because underneath is the letter still, you don't lose any of that title or like that wording. It's not going to show the papers underneath. It's just going to be more of that cardboard letter, which I think is really cool. So my title is going to be Swimming with Sea Turtles, and I did use the same font for the swimming with, which I added to that journaling tag before I printed it, as I used in the collection, so that it would match that one down there that says Time with Family. Now I'm just using a big needle and stringing each of these letters on this string, a trick I used before on one of my other layouts with this collection. I really love this alphabet. It's so very usable, but man, it begs to be on string, so I've done it twice. And now I'm going to stick all of these letters down, and of course I start too far over to the right and I have to reposition the letters several times before they fit all the way across the page the way that I want them to. I should have started on the outside edge and worked my way in, but I'm just not that smart, y'all. Just not that smart. So I'm just going to put some glue on each of these. I should have just used liquid glue, but again, I'm glad I didn't because I did have to move these letters several times. But we're just going to string them so that they're nice and loosey-goosey like they would be if they were just floating around on that string. And you can see I'm running out of room, so we're going to start repositioning. I think I do it at least twice, but that's okay, because all of these letters are just going right back down on top of the glue that's stuck to the paper. See, look, I got to do it again. So it's okay that it's leaving a little bit of residue behind because it's just going right back down onto the sticky residue. All right, we can fit the S now. Problem is that I can't really fit a bow at the end, so we're just gonna have to be satisfied with a little loop instead. You can see me trying to tie a bow. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. So we're just gonna be satisfied with a little loop-de-loop here. I'm gonna glue down the ends of these strings so that I can make them loop the way I want them to. This is harder than it looks, y'all. I did not want to stay still. You can see me just holding it down. I'm actually going to tie another bow, and I'm going to put it over here on the left-hand side cluster by my husband, just to add in a little bit more of that texture. Just a cute little bow. I decided to use the twine as my stringy texture rather than stitching, because I figured once I had everything down already, sending this through my sewing machine would be hard, and I didn't want my layout to be hard. I wanted it to be easy. So we forewent the sewing things down. Okay, so I'm just going to staple this here because it makes life easier, and then I will glue down those tails as well so that I can make them go the way that I want them to. Gonna glue down this one with a little loop-de-loop just for fun, maybe, if it does stop sticking to my fingers. Ugh, look at that, it's so hard. And then if you staple along the direction that the string is going, it makes the staple a lot more invisible. Alright, one more time. Here's my head again, sorry. Gotta lean over and look real close. Ugh, not that it matters because it just gets pulled up by my fingers again anyway. So then the last thing that I'm going to do after I get this unstuck from my fingers is add in some sequins into those glacier paste stars. So I pulled out some sequins that are silver like starfish and ones that are pink seashells, and then I'm also going to add in the blue and teal ones from this sequin mix as well. I'm just going to put them in randomly at first, and then I will make them make sense when I start putting them down with my glue. I always like to bring them in a little bit tighter than how they went down, you know, just randomly, so that they don't just look weirdly randomly scattered. I want them to look natural but not uneven. I don't know. not balanced, I guess you could say. Planned chaos. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci and Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There's a link in the description box below to the blog post for this sketch if you want to see more examples from the team using it or download the printable PDF. I will see you next time. Thank you.